Time now for our rants and raves, starting with Dan Kennedy.
I have a rant for the Trump White House.
What a shock.
What a shock. But once again, they are taking on the First Amendment, and we can only hope the First Amendment will be the winner. Last week on ABC's This Week, maybe it was to commemorate the upcoming World Press Freedom Day, Chief of Staff Reince Priebus repeated the president's previous threat to go after libel protections for journalists reporting on matters of public interest. And basically he said, you know, very plainly that we need to lower these libel barriers so that news organizations will be put on notice and not report some of the fake news that they're reporting. These libel protections have been in effect since the Civil Rights era, and they were originally rooted in the Civil Rights era. It was to prevent public officials from abusing the libel laws and intimidating journalists into not reporting for fear of being hit with a libel suit. And, you know, the Trump administration says this so often that maybe at some point we should realize they mean it.
All right, Jennifer.
I agree with Dan. That is very troubling. I have to say the last thing we need is more lawsuits. But my rant this week is for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, which suspended a column by a woman named Stacey Washington.
Columnist.
So, what?
They suspended her.
Well, they suspended her column.
Oh,
That's how they worded it. They suspended her column temporarily because she wrote a piece that defended the National Rifle Association from another columnist or another article that had described the NRA, compared the NRA to ISIS, and she took issue with that, and she wrote a column. The paper said they suspended the column because of a conflict of interest, because she was too heavily involved in the National Rifle Association. And I agree, she probably should have put a clause in her column, something to the effect of the NRA, of which I am a member, comma. But I don't think it was that egregious. I think it's perfectly all right for columnists to be members of organizations. After all, they're paid for their opinion, and they advocate for things they believe in, and presumably.
But they're going to let her write. They're going to let her keep writing.
No, the column was suspended indefinitely,
okay.
And she then resigned.
Oh, I see.
But I thought, you know, it was interesting because at the same time people were saying, well, it's a conflict of interest, columnists shouldn't be involved in these organizations, and almost within 24 hours the Center for Public Integrity comes out with a piece saying that out of the 400 and some odd journalists they looked at, 96% of them had made financial contributions to Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And these were straight news journalists, not opinion leaders.
But they were all violating the policy of the news organizations they worked for.
All right, got to keep moving. Kelly.
Reuters, this is a rave, Reuters talks about their trust principles upon which the news organization is built. And they wanted to make this a little more contemporary in the moment. So they've started something called backstory. So often in this discussion at this table, we say, well, how did they get that? Or, well, what happened behind the scenes? So now they're not every story, but they're taking some, and they're going down to the granular level to tell you what they did to get the information. So I note that one of the most recent ones is about tracking lead, and it was a big story in California. They tell you where the reporters went, when they started it, where they got stopped, and then how they reconnoitered and came back. I think it's great because that's been something that comes up all the time. People are like, where'd you get that? And how did you get it? And more importantly, how did you get it? So I think this is great.
Yeah, I like that. Dan.
So I'm ranting about just all the coverage that we've had about Boston being a racist city. You can't turn anywhere. That's all everyone is talking about. And, you know, I know what racism is. I've been the victim of racism in many different places that I've lived in my life. You know, Boston is not a racist city. There are racist people living in Boston. There are racist people living in a lot of places across America. But I don't think that Boston is any more racist than it is in New York or some other major cities. And I just think that by the way that it has been covered by reporters, it's now picked up, you know, national press, and everyone is now buying into this narrative that, you know, you go to Boston, if you're a black person, watch out. You know, it's just a racist place. You can't be there. There's a lot of history here. And so I understand what the baggage is, but I just think that the way that it's being covered is sort of crossed the line.
I just want to say that that's because of the reputation of the city, and that has been ongoing. So
Right,
that's
and
where
I
that comes
understand.
from. So
That
that
is
just
right,
was,
right.
you know, that's all I'm saying.
I understand where
Yeah,
it comes from,
yeah.
but we're just, we should be a little bit more careful
Yeah.
about fanning, the
Okay, well,
flames.
I'm going to dovetail off of that and just say I have a very general rant for the media on that exact same story. Because while I have no doubt that what Adam Jones says happened, I have no question about that, the media has not dug deep enough into this story. They need to peel back. They need to find out who said it, who else was in the bleachers. Was the same guy that was thrown out, the guy throwing the peanuts, was he the guy? I mean, and it's an accountability process for the Red Sox as well. I mean, maybe they are working on it. I can't believe it wouldn't be easy to get. I mean, you sell the tickets, you know where people are standing, you do a little map, you should be able to get this.
I have to say, I was at Fenway the other night, and I can't imagine that somebody could hear a specific person screaming a specific thing.
If you're close enough, you can hear it.
Well, that night there weren't that many people there, right?
And,
So it was
and by the way,
quiet.
this has happened a lot. A lot of people just don't talk about it.
I'm just saying it's a
So-
gettable story, and somebody's
Yeah.
got to get it.